Hi, everyone. Andrea Owen and Amy Smith here of the Self Love Revolution. And we just wanted to swing by your inbox to make a quick video to talk about, just answer a few questions that you might be having about the Self Love Revolution Master's Course Retreat. So, three questions we're going to answer that we receive a lot. And the first one is,
So this is really interesting because I know you see the same thing, Andrea, where people think if I've learned about self-worth or if I've learned about dealing with negative self-talk on your podcast or in a class of yours, then I'm done,
mhm.
or then there's nothing else to learn, or I'm not going to revisit it. And what I've seen consistently over and over again, whether it's with retreats or classes, even if you are approaching something like self-kindness or self-forgiveness and you've learned a little bit about it in the past, you will approach it in a completely different perspective based off of what you're going through at that time. So you might have learned self-talk principles when you were going through a really challenging divorce, let's say, and then going through with us at the retreat, it might be all about dealing with negative self-talk around your career because that's what's feeling really potent right now. So, and I know for me, I have to revisit things all the time, and this format is radically different. So it's like the difference between, you can get fit, right, by hiring a personal trainer. You can get fit by getting a joint gym membership. You can get fit by working out inside your home, but you're going to get a different experience from all of those different sorts of mediums. And the same is true for a retreat. The way in which we excavate that information is totally different in person.
Mhm.
Do you agree?
Totally. And I think that even if you're watching this video and you've taken one of our classes before, maybe you're just an avid podcast listener, or maybe you've already taken one of our classes before where one of the modules was on self-kindness, because we talk about that a lot because it's so important, and one of the modules was on self-worth. But coming here is a completely different experience when you are spending several days immersed in the work, as well as being around people that are also immersed in the work. The energy is completely different than when you are behind your computer, or even if you're working one-on-one with us. Like you were saying, like I can't be someone's community. I can't be my client's entire community. And so that's what you'll get from the retreat is this community of like-minded women, as well as what it reminds me of is when you and I went through our coach training. And one of the reasons I picked the Coaches Training Institute was because they had in-person training. I
That's right.
knew that it was going to be such a different experience because I had the choice of do I want to do teleclasses or do I want to do in person? And absolutely, I picked in person because for me personally, I pay way more attention when I'm there in the seat when someone is teaching me and when I get to practice the work and do all of the things that I'm learning interactively there at the place that I'm at. You can't hide. You can't escape
That's
from
right.
it. So that is just another reason that we feel so strongly about doing these in-person retreats to have massive growth in the areas that you want to.
So again, like we were talking about before we even started filming, one of the things that I love so much about the retreat is the community and the environment that it fosters. So, for instance, if I'm working one-on-one with somebody, we can have this intense connection. They can feel really safe with me. But I find that many of my clients and students will say stuff about wanting to connect with other like-minded people, and they don't know how to go about doing that. So no matter how intimate our connection is, I can't be this group of soul sisters for a client. And we can have that sort of environment in a group class, which is amazing. But the potency and the vulnerability that you really have to embody in person is a huge element to your self growth. So, part of just the way in which a retreat is formatted forces you to get outside of your comfort zone, forces you to exercise vulnerability, which you talk about constantly in your work, that fosters healing. That's the thing is we can hide out for the rest of our lives, but by exhibiting that bravery, that's what enables you to be braver in your relationships, braver in your workplace, braver as a parent. So it creates these tools that you come home with that are incredibly pervasive in the rest of your life. So what we see too oftentimes is when people get home, now they've got this like band of sisterhood. So there's this huge understanding of, I am not alone. My situation might be unique. Yes, my circumstances might be uniquely mine, but I have people in my corner. I'm not alone. And we see all the time that people who go on retreats remain incredibly close afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see some of those friendships that have been made at our past retreats on the info page at theselfloverevolution.com. And I think that one of the hugest takeaways is what I hear from a lot of students in my classes and my clients is they sometimes struggle in their personal female friendships. And it's not that the female friendships aren't strong, they are, but they feel kind of awkward talking about personal development stuff and, you know, kind of taking that step deeper into the relationship. And when you step into one of our retreats, everybody's ready to talk about that stuff. It's a group of people. Right. I mean, when I started doing this work and would go to these types of whether it was a training or a retreat, I was like, I felt like I was coming home. I mean, for the sake of sounding really dramatic, it felt like I was coming home to these people who were willing to see my soul and show me theirs as well. And it's not that they weren't scared to do it. We all were scared. I know that you and I, even as facilitators, walk in with
always scared,
nervous and like, I hope they like us and I hope everything goes smoothly. And it is a place where we can talk about those types of things, and we're absolutely not alone.
That's right.
So the selfish element comes out a lot, and I think I can speak to this in a unique way, being the mother of small children. And I remember when my kids were really little. Well, when I was actually in coach training, my oldest son, who's 9 now, I was still nursing him, and he was a little wee one. So I've been leaving my children since they were little, and it's hard every single time. And I think that it's the making of the decision that's the hard part. And then also when you actually leave and you walk out the door and you get on the airplane and actually travel, that is difficult. I'm not going to pretend that it's not difficult. And you feel selfish. Like, who am I to leave these kids? And can my partner, my husband handle it? Or if you're a single mom, like, you know, I'm burdening everyone by making these plans to create childcare. And it's a logistics pain in the ass. I totally get it. And the thing is that I even wrote a blog post about this several years ago where I learned so much from leaving my children, because I think that one of the things I want them to know is that my life doesn't 1,000% of the time revolve around them.
You have an identity.
I have my own identity. I have my own life where I want to better myself. In turn, I become a better mother. But first and foremost, it's for me. It's for me to be a better person. And I want to show them that I know that I matter. And I want to underline that. I know that I matter, because when I make the decision to not go, when I make the decision to not better myself, I am sending them the message that I don't feel like I deserve it. And I feel like they matter more. And I think about my own mother, and I remember I've told this story a few times before. When she used to paint a lot before I was born, and she took these. I have a painting of hers that she took from an art class. I think it was like the year before I was born, and I asked her, "Why did you stop?" And she was like, "Well, I had you, and I just didn't have the time to do it." That breaks my heart that she stopped doing that for her because of me. And so I take that with me, and I remember that, and that it would not have been selfish for her to continue the creativity that was in her. It is not selfish for you as a mother to leave your children for a few days to come and better yourself. You are setting an example that is so incredibly important for them.
I'm really glad that you underlined that, because obviously I don't know what that's like, because I'm just leaving dogs and rabbits and they're going to be just fine. But there's also something that I see really commonly, whether we're teaching an online course or we're doing an in-person retreat. And you and I have very similar women that we work with, and they oftentimes struggle with severe perfectionist tendencies and major people pleasing. So one of the things that you have to overcome in order to let go of that people pleasing is to choose that you matter. So there's that pull, that tendency to go, what's my mom going to think if I leave my kids? What's my spouse going to think if I say, hey, I want to spend this money on being a better person? What am I going to explain to my colleagues that I'm running off to this, hippie fucking retreat in the woods? No, it's not like that. But, there's that battle of being so highly invested in what other people think and being a people pleaser or recovering people pleaser. That's a part of it. So just the act of buy now is going, I matter. I'm going to let go of what other people might think. I might still have those thoughts. I might still have fear, but I'm still choosing a behavior that's in service of me. So just that act is a part of the work. Mm-hmm. It's a part of the work. So here's the deal. There's going to be those of you who you are like, hell yes, this is me. I am in. And for some of you, that may not be the case. But if you have that pull, if you have that tug where you're like done with caring so much about everybody else with extreme self-sacrifice, please go check out the selfloverevolution.com and just read through it. And I really, really encourage you to read other people's experience with it, because all of those people that we've worked with were scared shitless, riddled with guilt about being away from friends and family and children, terrified that this was a poor choice, or, oh my gosh, we're spending family resources on this. Everybody was in that same boat. I don't think I've ever had anybody who was like, oh yeah, no brainer. There's always an element of trepidation. So go to the selfloverevolution.com. Please know that we're not trying to be dramatic when we say this, but we have already sold quite a handful of spots and we have only a limited number. There's no chance of us getting more spots. And it's highly unlikely that we will do this again. We've talked about it. It's not on the docket at all for 2018 or beyond. So if you want in, go now. You'll read all of people's past experiences, the friendships people have cultivated, and you'll see the ridiculous amount of stuff that's involved in it, that it's all inclusive. We'll pick you up at the airport, all the bonuses that you get. So you're an adult, you can read. selfloverevolution.com.
And if you're still not sure, maybe I always am kind of the person who needs to do like a gut check. Like, is this really for me? Because you can read about it, like one-dimensionally, but we are more than willing to get on the phone with you if you have some questions. It's no pressure. And that option is I believe it's at the bottom of the info page, correct?
That's right.
Where you can book a chat. You can book a chat with either myself or Amy. We have cleared out our schedules, so you are not burdening us. If you are one of those people who are like, I don't want to burden you to get on the phone with you, and
that's a part of it.
So if you're that person, you need to get on the phone with us, and we can just talk about it. Like, we can answer any questions that you have. We are more than willing to hear your story. If you're like, this, here's where I'm at. Do you think that this retreat would help me? And we're going to be completely honest with you and tell you whether we think this retreat is for you or not. So the selfloverevolution.com, and we will see you on the other side.